Do you remember the sound? That screeching, beeping alien symphony of a 56K modem connecting to the internet. It was the sound of freedom, the sound of possibility, and let's be honest, it was the sound of you downloading a Blink-182 song as well as the Matrix from a program called LimeWire, praying they weren't actually viruses that would brick your family's beige gateway computer. For a brief, glorious moment, we lived in a digital utopia. Streaming services like Netflix were the heroes we didn't even know we needed. They swooped in, vanquished the digital pirates, and gave us everything we could ever want for one simple, low price. It was perfect. But then, something happened. The heroes got greedy. They built walls around their kingdoms, raised their prices, and started hoarding their treasures. And in doing so, they accidentally did the one thing they swore to destroy. They made piracy great again. This is the story of how streaming almost flatlined piracy, and then, through a spectacular series of fumbles, resuscitated it. And to understand how we got here, we first need to go back to a dorm room in 1999, where a college kid with a clever idea was about to set the entire music industry on fire. Before Netflix, before Spotify, there was Napster. Created by Sean Fanning, it wasn't just a program. It was a revolution wrapped in a sketchy user interface. Napster worked on a simple principle called peer-to-peer, or P2P networking. Imagine a giant citywide potluck. Instead of one central restaurant providing all the food, every single person brings a dish and shares it with everyone else. On Napster, the dishes were MP3 files. Your secret stash of Metallica songs? Suddenly, thousands of people could have a copy. In return, you got access to their libraries. It was a digital free-for-all, and everyone thought it was glorious. Well, almost everyone. The music industry, however, did not think it was glorious. They were the fancy restaurant owners watching everyone eat for free at the potluck next door, and they were furious. The numbers were staggering. According to the Recording Industry Association of America, or the RIAA, music revenue in the US was sliced in half, plummeting from $14.6 billion in 1999 to just $6.3 billion a decade later. This led to one of the most infamous showdowns in music history: Metallica versus their own fans. The band's drummer, Lars Ulrich, became the face of the anti-Napster movement, famously delivering a list of over 300,000 users who had shared their music to Napster's office. The industry's logic was simple. If you make something free and easy to get, people won't pay for it. So they sued Napster into oblivion. But it was like playing whack-a-mole. For every Napster they shut down, two more popped up, with names like Kazaa, LimeWire, and Morpheus. The war was on. But Hollywood and the music label's next move wasn't to build a better product. Oh no, it was to punish the people who were actually paying for their stuff. Do you remember those ads? The ones on DVDs you couldn't skip? The message was clear. Downloading a movie was the same as being a common criminal. The problem was, the experience of legally buying a movie felt like a punishment. You'd buy a DVD, pop it in, and be forced to watch 5 minutes of FBI warnings and trailers for Adam Sandler movies you had no intention of seeing. The pirates? They got a clean, ad-free version instantly. The entertainment industry's big weapon was something called digital rights management, or DRM. The idea was to use technology to restrict what you could do with the media you bought. It was like buying a book, but the publisher glues the pages together after you read them once, or they send a security guard to your house to make sure you're not letting your friends borrow it. It was, in a word, annoying. Studies and tech experts have repeatedly shown what we all felt. DRM doesn't really stop pirates. Pirates are good at breaking locks. All DRM did was frustrate the honest, paying customers, sometimes pushing them towards piracy because the illegal version was just a better, easier-to-use product. This fundamental misunderstanding of the problem created an opening. The industry thought it was fighting a moral battle against thieves, but they weren't. They were fighting a service battle against a competitor who was offering a better experience. They were losing badly. They needed a savior. And that savior was a company that used to mail DVDs in little red envelopes. Enter Netflix. By the late 2000s, Netflix made a pivot that would change the world. They launched their Watch Instantly streaming service. Their CEO, Reed Hastings, understood something that the rest of the industry didn't. Convenience is the ultimate weapon. People weren't pirating because they were evil. They were pirating because it was easy. You type a movie name, you click download, you watch the movie. The legal alternative involved driving to a Blockbuster. It was no contest. Netflix offered a third option. It was a massive, all-you-can-eat digital buffet. And the price? It was almost an afterthought. For the price of a couple of coffees, about $8 to $10 a month, you got access to thousands of movies and TV shows instantly, with no ads and no sketchy downloads. A single $10 bill bought you entertainment paradise. The co-founder of the giant PC gaming platform Steam, Gabe Newell, summed it up perfectly. He said, "Piracy is almost always a service problem and not a pricing problem." He argued that if you give people a service that's better than what they get from pirates, they'll happily pay for it. And he was right. The data was undeniable. In 2013, a report from the analytics firm Sandvine showed that as Netflix traffic exploded to make up nearly a third of all downstream internet traffic in North America, peer-to-peer file sharing, the engine of piracy, saw its share of traffic plummet. We had a winner. For a few beautiful years, streaming was simple. You had Netflix, maybe you added Hulu for network TV shows. That was it. Your entire premium ad-free entertainment bill was less than maybe $20 a month. Piracy was becoming a memory. The war was over. We'd won. But in the cutthroat world of corporate entertainment, peace never lasts. The other kingdoms saw how much gold Netflix was making, and they decided they wanted their own mountains of treasure. The golden age of streaming ended the day Disney decided to pull all of its content from Netflix to launch Disney+. It was a declaration of war, the streaming wars. Suddenly, every company with a backlog of old sitcoms and B-movies wanted its own streaming service. CBS All Access became Paramount+. HBO launched HBO Max. NBC launched Peacock. Apple launched Apple TV+. Amazon poured billions into Prime Video. What used to be one giant, convenient library was shattered into a dozen expensive, walled-off stores. It's like if your one grocery store suddenly split into 10 different specialty shops. Now, if you want to make a sandwich, you have to go to one store for bread, another for cheese, a third for lettuce, and a fourth for meat. And each store charges you a monthly entry fee. That simple $10 a month paradise was gone. If you wanted to keep up with the biggest shows, you now needed a complex portfolio of subscriptions. Want to watch Stranger Things? That's Netflix, which now starts at $17.99 for a standard plan. The Mandalorian? Add Disney Plus for $15.99. The Last of Us? You'll need HBO Max for $16.99. Ted Lasso? That's Apple TV Plus for another $12.99. Before you know it, you've gone from a simple $10 bill to a monthly bill easily topping $60, $70, or even $80, often more than the cable packages we gleefully cut years ago. The cost quickly spiraled out of control. A 2024 report from Deloitte found that the average American household now spends $61 a month on streaming video. Many pay far more. It's become a part-time job just to manage it all. I personally have a calendar reminder to cancel free trials before they charge my card. My entertainment shouldn't require financial planning. But the fragmentation and the ballooning cost were only part of the problem. Something much weirder started happening. Shows and movies that you thought you had access to just vanished. The most notorious example of this was Warner Brothers Discovery. To save money on a tax bill, they started a digital bonfire, deleting their own original shows from their own platform, HBO Max. A massive, award-winning show like Westworld? Gone. Critically acclaimed series like Minx? Vanished. They even trashed the entire, nearly finished $90 million Batgirl movie, locking it in a vault forever, all as a cynical accounting trick.
The movie has tested so poorly that the studio behind it calls it irredeemable.
The promise of streaming was that everything would be available. The reality became that your favorite show could be erased from existence overnight by its own creators. The convenience that had killed piracy was officially gone, and in its place was a complicated, expensive, and unreliable mess. The pirates, who had been waiting in the shadows, saw their opportunity. The wind was back in their sails. Today, piracy is booming because, for the pirates, piracy has once again become the best service. Think about it. The user experience for a modern pirate is actually incredible. There are sleek, well-organized websites that look better than half the official streaming services. They can use an app like Plex to organize all their stuff into their own personal, beautiful Netflix. It's searchable, it's all in one place, it works on every device, and it never buffers. Most importantly, nothing ever disappears. The library only grows. The numbers back this up. According to the piracy tracking firm Muso, visits to film and TV piracy sites surged by nearly 13% in the first half of 2023 alone. Global demand is in the billions of visits. The industry has recreated the very problem they spent a decade fighting. They took a simple, elegant solution and made it complicated and frustrating. The tech writer Cory Doctorow has a fantastic term for this phenomenon: enshittification. It's the inevitable decay of online platforms as they shift their focus from serving their users to squeezing every last penny out of them. The streaming services are a textbook example. They lured us in with low prices and vast libraries. And now they're hiking prices, adding commercials, cracking down on password sharing, and fracturing their content. They're making their own product worse, and they seem genuinely shocked that people are looking for an alternative. It's a classic, self-inflicted wound. So where do we go from here? Are we just stuck in this endless cycle of convenience and fragmentation? Is there any way to actually fix this mess for good? The history of digital piracy isn't really a story about technology or crime. It's a story about human behavior. And the lesson is incredibly simple. People will always choose the path of least resistance. For years, the entertainment industry tried to fight piracy with lawyers, scary ads, and frustrating technology. They failed, miserably. Then, for a short time, they fought piracy with a better product, and they won, decisively. Now, they've forgotten that lesson. They've made the legal path full of tolls, detours, and dead ends. So, naturally, people are once again taking the pirate's shortcut. This cycle will continue until the big media companies realize they are not in a war against the public. They are in a competition for our attention and our money. And right now, they are losing to an unnamed, decentralized, free competitor that offers a better user experience. The next time a studio executive complains about how much money they're losing to piracy, the question shouldn't be, how do we punish these pirates? The question they should be asking themselves, in their own boardrooms, is, how did we manage to make the illegal option the more convenient one, again? If you found yourself nodding along at any point in this video, if you've ever canceled a subscription out of frustration or hunted for a show that mysteriously vanished, then do me a favor, hit that like button so more people see just how broken streaming has become. And if you're new here, subscribe, because this isn't the only industry pulling the same stunt. From housing to jobs to technology, we're living in an age where companies are slowly ruining everyday life for profit, and I will be covering a lot more of those topics.